readers. My name is Dawn Hughes, and I'm the coordinator of Booktrib's book club program. I'm here today with acclaimed author Nan Fischer, whose latest novel is a timeless love story about a woman on the precipice of making a terrible mistake about her future and the letters from a ghost that show her the path to happiness. Not gonna lie, you had me at ghost. The Book of Silver Linings is one of the books taking part in Booktrib's book club program for August. So we're excited to talk to you. Thanks so much, Nan.
Thank you so much for having me, Dawn. I'm really excited to be here.
Excellent. I'm going to jump in because we only have a few minutes. So, no spoilers, but what can you share about this book that we might not have read on the jacket cover?
Well, I thought about this question, and the thing I really want to share with readers, because sometimes you don't get a behind the scene peek at how authors come up with their story, are the inspirations behind the Book of Silver Linings. And the first one, and I don't know if you can see, but my husband gave me an antique engagement ring. It's from the late 1800s, and all we know about it is that it's mine cut and it was from France. And I've always wondered who was the woman or the women who wore it before me and what was their story.
Wow.
I don't know, and I don't know if I'll ever find out, but that was the first seed for this book. The next seed was in my 20s and 30s, I basically dated the flotsam and jetsam of the boyfriend world. And I wanted to tell a story about a woman who hasn't found her voice or her passion, and give her a vehicle for finding her own version of happily ever after. The third inspiration was, I'll show you a picture actually. Tell me if you can see this.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so this guy.
Oh, you moved it away, couldn't.
This guy right here.
Oh, you're just covering your face.
Oh, okay, wait. Yeah. This guy right here.
You still can't see it. It's weird.
Oh, darn.
Background.
Well, it's a black and white photo of my husband's grandfather with Franklin Roosevelt in 1941. And when I saw this picture, I'm like, that's my husband. And so it started me thinking about how much I've always wanted to tell a ghost story and a story with kind of hints of reincarnation. And so that was another kind of seed to writing this story. And then the final one is that I'm a huge proponent of animal shelters and giving animals second chances. So there's a thread through the story about rescuing animals, and I wanted to shine a light really on the incredible work that people do at animal shelters. So I'm actually donating a percentage of my publishing day sales, my personal sales, to the Pixie Project, which is this wonderful shelter in Portland, Oregon that really works hard to find animals forever homes. So if people pre-order the Book of Silver Linings, some of that money is going directly to the Pixie Project to help animals find their forever home. So those were the main inspirations for the story.
If I didn't have incentive to read the book before, I certainly do now. That's wonderful, and thank you for that.
Oh,
I'm an animal lover myself, so yes, for sure. When you were, I know you weren't able to research your personal ring, which is amazing. But when you were writing the book, did you have to do some research sort of into how that would even work, and was there something fascinating you learned?
Well, throughout writing the book, writing a novel is this iterative process, and you keep adding layers and layers to your story. And the story within the story is about these love letters that a World War I ambulance driver is writing home to his sister about the love of his life, who he's discovered after he volunteers in World War I. And so one of the things that I learned that was super fascinating was that so many professional healthcare professionals in the United States volunteered for World War I, because women at that time, women physicians and nurses, were only allowed to treat women and children. They weren't allowed to treat men. And by volunteering for the war, they were given the opportunity to treat wounded soldiers and to prove that they were capable and intelligent enough to do that. And they were so capable that it helped them win the right to vote back in the United States. And it changed the way people looked at women in medical professions. They were even allowed to run hospitals. And some of the hospitals that they ran were the most successful at treating wounded soldiers. And they were run from electrician, plumber, gurney people, ambulance drivers, all the way to female surgeons, all female facilities. which I thought was incredibly fascinating. And there are a lot of books about that, and I knew nothing about it.
Wow, that is fascinating.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Talk about inspiration. Obviously, the book is at its core a love story, a ghost story, but you've clearly layered in a lot of themes and other things, which I think helps lend us to a book club book. Why do you think the Book of Silver Linings is perfect for that?
Well, I made a list of reasons because it's always so hard to remember them off the cuff. The first one is the story at its heart is about finding your voice and your passion. And it's a book that I wish I'd read in my 20s. It's a book I can look back on now and see how difficult the journey was. And I think that's a great conversation for people to have about how did you find your passion? How did you find your voice? What are the missteps that you took? How did you figure out a way out of it and create your own version of happily ever after? Because until we figure out who we are, it's really hard to get the things that you want out of life because you're coming to a relationship or a job or whatever incomplete. So that's one of the things. I think also there's a forgiveness is a big theme in this story. And so I think a discussion about what's forgivable and what's unforgivable and what forgiveness does for you. Are there certain things that you just can't forgive in your life? Is another good discussion point. I think
female relatable. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And I think female friendships, there's a female friendship in this story where one of the women is a leader and the other is a follower, and that changes over time. And I think friendships where you find someone who can disagree with you, who you can still have conversation with and help each other to grow is not only important, but like finding that in your life and who are those people in your life that have become those touchstones for you is another cool discussion point. Yeah. Something that's really important to me are core beliefs. Constance, the main character in the story, has core beliefs that were formed in her childhood about who she is in this world. And this is why she has no confidence. I don't want to spoil anything. And I think we all have core beliefs in our life. Like for me, when I was a kid and I was bad, I was told I love you, but I don't like you. And so my core belief growing up was that I was unlikable. And even now, talking to you or the readers who are going to look at this, I'm like, oh, please like me. I want you to like me so badly. And this story is about looking at those core beliefs, even if some of them are actually true about Constance. As an adult, you get to make a choice in life. You get to decide, who you want to be. And it doesn't matter whether I think I'm unlikable, I can still move through the world and act in a way that serves me better. And so I think a conversation for book clubs about what are your core beliefs and why were they formed? And are you allowing those to run your life, or do you want something different? And if you have already made that decision and that leap, how did you do it? Because I think that those conversations can really help people who are struggling in their life. And I think that's so important. Wow. And finally, like book club discussions, finding and being a silver lining in life is something that's really important to me. I think I always try and say this didn't happen to me, it happened for me. Like right now you can't see, but I'm icing my knee because I tore my meniscus and I had to have surgery a few weeks ago. Oh. And as much as like that kind of sucked, at the same time, I'm spending more time editing my next book, and I've spent more time with my senior dog on the couch snuggling. And so you can always find a silver lining, but also be a silver lining. It's super easy. I saw a post the other day about the 4th of July and how you could volunteer an hour of your time to sit with shelter dogs who are afraid of the sound of fireworks. Or you can become an animal foster, or you can be a silver lining when you see someone at the grocery store in front of you who's really old, who clearly can't carry their groceries to their car. And you can just follow them out and just be there to say, oh, hey, let me just pick up that bag and pop it in your trunk. So I think that's another good discussion because it gives you so much more than you actually give when you become a silver lining in other people's lives. So there's lots more, but those are just some starting off points. And there's also questions in the back of the book for book clubs that go into more detail.
I feel like I want to have a post-it note on my fridge that says be a silver lining. I love that. That's such a great phrase.
Oh, well, it's just
Concept.
a great thing to do. And sometimes you forget or whatever. And I know a lot of people say kind of before they go to bed what they're grateful for.
Yeah.
To me, I say, like, how is a silver lining today? How can I, when I wake up in the morning, how can I be a silver lining in my husband's life, in my dog's life, in my friend's life, in a stranger's life? Is a great way to live. It makes you so much happier.
I love that. Thank you for that.
Of course.
For our last question, we're going to transition a bit away from your book, even though I don't want to, and I truly can't
Oh,
wait to read your book. But I'm curious, as a writer, you are obviously a reader as well. What's the best book you've read in the last year?
so that is an impossible question.
I know.
So I narrowed it down to three.
Okay.
Justin Cronin's The Ferryman. I think his plotting is stunning to
Yes.
me. I think as an author, you go through your chapters and you read the last sentence of a chapter and you ask yourself, is the next chapter a but or a therefore, or is it a then? Like, am I just kind of pushing a narrative forward, or am I really propelling the plot? And he
Yeah.
propels his plot like nobody else. And then Tracy Garbus Graves' new book is called The Trail of Lost Hearts, and it's out in March. And for me, Tracy creates characters that I just relate to and love. And I was lucky enough to read this book early, and it's one of my favorites of her books. And then TJ Klune, The House in the Cerulean Sea. That's not a new book, but I had not read that one yet. And its sheer creativity just blew me away. He creates these unbelievably quirky, strange, heartwarming worlds. And I just am always along for the ride.
Wow, you gave a couple of books there for my TBR. A couple I'd read too, or one I'd read too, but that's fantastic. Thank
Oh,
you.
good. I'm glad.
Truly, I mean this when I said I would love to talk to you all day, but I know we have to wrap this up. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who's going to read the Book of Silver Linings. I really, really appreciate it.
For more information about Nan's book, check out the book club page on booktrib.com website. Thank you.